Welcome back, everybody. We have some very important breaking news concerning ISIS and something that happened in Syria. I want to check in with Cal Perry right now. And Cal, let's get on record with what we've learned and have confirmed about the death of the number two.
Yeah, so according to the ISIS-affiliated news agency al-Amaq, their number two commander inside ISIS, Abu Mohammed al-Adnani, has been killed in the city of Aleppo. They put this out in the past hour saying that he was visiting frontline positions in Aleppo. ISIS obviously is always looking for the trappings of everything, including a state. Just to give you an idea of who this man was, this is the person who put out the call for attacks in both Europe and the West. In 2014, he gave this now infamous speech where he called on the killings of any disbelieving Americans or Europeans, where he called on killings of French, Australian, and Canadian citizens. This man really was ISIS before ISIS was ISIS. He spent time in Camp Bucca, that was an American prison in Iraq, for 6 years with Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. So this could be a significant victory for coalition forces in their continuing strikes against the leadership of ISIS. He was the number two commander. We know that al-Shashani, the number three commander of ISIS, was killed about a month ago. So this is now really turning into some major gains by coalition forces as they continue to target this leadership, Thomas.
All right, Cal, thanks so much. We're joined by NBC News terrorism analyst Evan Coleman. And Evan, this has been a person influential within ISIS, having pledged support to Abu al-Zarqawi years ago, best known also for the edict that he put out in 2014, basically saying, you know, kill people, Westerners, if you have to use a rock or run them over with their car, you know, to incite this terror and fear. Also, ISIS now backing up these reports. Have we heard definitively how this death happened?
We don't know definitively yet. All ISIS is saying officially is that it occurred while he was surveying military sites in Aleppo province. And obviously Aleppo is the scene of some pretty pitched battles right now, not just involving ISIS, but also involving mainstream Syrian rebels, as well as Iran, Hezbollah, the Syrian army, you name it. Everyone's going full force there right now. There are reports, and this is rumors, there are not confirmed, that he might have been killed in either an airstrike or a drone strike somewhere in or around the town of al-Bab in Aleppo. Obviously, that's interesting because if that's the case, then most likely he was not randomly killed. He was not simply randomly killed because he was on the front lines. He was most likely targeted. And it's important to remember that we know this individual primarily because he gives these speeches in which he calls for attacks, and he calls for attacks in Western countries. But according to Western intelligence, he plays a much more active role in that. He's actually been labeled as the head of ISIS external operations. So one of the questions we're asking right now is what kind of an impact will his death have in terms of not just ISIS generally, but more specifically about their attempts to carry out terrorist attacks inside the United States and other Western countries? Will this have an impact in terms of slowing that down, of upending their plans to carry out such attacks?
And we know, Evan, since certainly over the last 2 years, because it's just coming up September of 2016, it will be 2 years since he put out this edict. And I just want to remind our viewers exactly what al-Adnani had said. If you can kill a disbelieving American or European, especially the spiteful and filthy French, or an Australian or a Canadian or any other disbeliever, from the disbelievers waging war, including the citizens of countries that entered into a coalition against the Islamic State, kill him in any manner or way, however it may be. Smash his head with a rock, or slaughter him with a knife, or run him over with your car, or throw him down from a high place, or choke him, or poison him. And Evan, since that, we have covered so many different kinds of atrocious terrorist attacks, and whether it has been what happened in Nice or whether it's been what has happened in Paris, the issue for many people, including yourself, is trying to tie it back to this type of inspiration, this type of edict for people to then say, I did this in the name of ISIS.
Yeah. And I can tell you from personal experience, from having reviewed cases involving individuals that were recruited by ISIS living inside the United States and other Western countries, individuals who were following very, very closely what Abu Mohammed al-Adnani was saying, there is a large amount of evidence suggesting that he was tremendously influential in terms of pushing individuals living in Western countries to carry out homegrown terrorist attacks, that his words and his commands played a very central role in pushing disturbed individuals to carry out attacks whether or not they had any prior contact or any direct contact with ISIS. So that's another important point to make here, is in terms of the problem of lone wolf terrorism, of lone wolf extremism, particularly tied to ISIS, Abu Mohammed al-Adnani figures very, very prominently. He is a very important figure. Again, there's absolutely no doubt he is one of the top figures in ISIS. He is very closely associated with ISIS terrorist operations abroad. And again, the sourcing on his death now is pretty much unimpeachable. It comes directly from ISIS now, saying that he is dead. He has been killed, and if he was killed in a drone strike, obviously that's even more interesting, because it would suggest that our intelligence on the locations of top ISIS leaders is getting better.